as we welcome in the head coach of the national champs, Tony Bennett. How much sleep last night, Coach?
A little bit, but it's all good, Dad. It's all good.
When did it hit you?
I don't know if it quite has yet, but no, I think this journey has been amazing. And, when the final horn went off, after we had won in overtime, I just sitting on that stool because you're up and they put you on such a stage for the floor. And I just kind of bowed my head and I just said, thank you. I was overcome with thankfulness and humbled in a way that I felt like, it was so improbable, how we won these games and all the things that went on. And I think it dawned on me and, to see our former players, to see Joe Harris, Malcolm Brogdon there and in the locker room after, just to look at the guys. We did a cool thing after that meant the world to me. I think those moments, and it'll continue to sink in, but it was so good, so good.
I couldn't help but think of your father, having been able to broadcast one of your games when you played and having met your father. And I still tell people the practices were probably pretty boring to the players, but so clinical. And I just see so much of what you're doing now and what your father probably gave you. And for him to be there and enjoy that, what was the moment like when you saw Dad afterwards?
No, that was special. He hardly comes to any games. He battles his nerves so much. I think having been in the coaching profession, it's hard. But he came to the Sweet 16 Elite 8 games. That was maybe the third game he'd been to in probably, I don't know, a few years. And then for him to not come to the Final Four game, but the championship, I was glad he was there to see it because I think it was, like you said, I heard you say, it was really a high-level game. And I know a lot of people thought it's going to be so low scoring, but ironically, it wasn't quite that way, but it was teams answering each other. And as I said, his fingerprints are all over my coaching. And I watched him do it with, maybe less talent and take programs beyond. So it was really good. That was the game you mentioned. Was that one of your first years of broadcasting? I think it was 1991 or 92. I was a senior and we did it was Butler versus Green Bay. And was that one of your first games doing that?
Yeah.
I recall that a long time ago.
And I remember that you didn't play much defense back there, Tony.
Well, but I made a three-pointer, if you remember, to win it.
Yes, I did. No, you could score. That's why I'm always curious when a scorer is trying to teach defense, because you guys are known for your defense.
Well, I say not as I did.
We're talking to Tony Bennett, and he's the head coach of Virginia. If I would have told you a year ago after the loss to UMBC, hey, you're winning the national title next year, you would have said what?
I would have smiled at you and said, that's, you're just trying to make me feel better because I feel like crap right now. That's the honest answer. But I knew that it was going to be a year that was going to be probably so important in all of our lives because of what we were going to have to face and go through together. And absolutely knew we were going to need to rely on each other. And it did some unique bonding, and boy, it built resilience in these guys in a way that I don't know what else could have. From a sports standpoint, I always like to clarify that this is a game and this is sports. It's not life because there's so many worse things. But I do think it's a good message of, like we said, hope and resiliency and guys coming together. I can't think of a much better story in sports, like for us at least.
What about bonding in the offseason? So you have the devastating loss, and then what do you do as a coach to kind of hit the reset button in the offseason with these kids?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Everything was pretty intentional, and obviously we once we started our workouts, I decided to go on a whitewater rafting trip just because we said it's a blast and it's fun, and we did it. We had a good time, but the story, the short of it is, we went whitewater rafting, and I talked to the guys about it, why we were doing it. And I remember floating down the river, looking up and just saying to myself, Lord, what does this year have in store for us? So when we get to Minneapolis for the Final Four, they gave us, right when we got off the airplane, for some reason, it's because the land of 10,000 lakes, they gave each player and me a paddle, and it says the road ends here. And the first thing we did as a team was go whitewater rafting, kind of as a real strong team bonding thing, besides, the meetings. And, it was all about the, paddling together, being in the boat and the oars. I just thought it was really, it was kind of a neat irony, the way it started and then the way it kind of ended getting to the Final Four.
At any moment in this tournament, did you think it was going to come crashing down?
Well, yeah. And I guess, to be honest, I had made peace with whatever the outcome would be all year. And I know this will sound strange, but if it meant I wasn't sure if I wanted to be initially another number one seed. One, the fact that these guys stepped up and won a share of the ACC and battled. And then, as we're getting close, I'm like, all right, we're probably going to be a one seed. And with that comes unique pressures, even if you haven't lost that game. But when you've lost being the only team in the history of the game, and then you got to step into that moment again, it's a pressure unlike anything a team has, of course, ever experienced. And then to add to that, when we were down 14, I thought that moment, it was a bit much. But I remember telling our guys at halftime, listen, you can't panic, but you got to fight like crazy. And I think being in that moment and seeing those guys, show the resiliency and the poise to win the Gardner-Webb game, I think that, and that's what I told them before the championship game. I said, you handled things, and I said, you were built for this because of the pressure you face and overcome. I think that in a powerful way let us handle any of these things. But as I said, sorry for the long answer, I made peace with, hey, if we were going to lose in the first round again, or if we weren't going to get advanced, I was okay with it. It wouldn't have been good again, but I know I could have handled it. But I was just holding it with open hands.
Now, I know that you're in the game in the moment. We're watching the game, and your poor wife, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do for her or take her someplace, but Tony, she was every moment. She was grinding. She was grinding more than you were.
That's awesome. No, she's actually one of the calmest, most peaceful people I know, so I'll be curious to hopefully see some highlights.
Man.
But whatever she wants, she's got it.
Hey, congrats. Enjoy it. And please tell your father I said hello. Thank you, Tony.
I will, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
That's Tony Bennett, Continental Tire Coach's Corner. Proud to be the exclusive tire of the Dan Patrick Show. No matter where you drive, what you drive, how you drive, Continental designs tires for what you do. For more information, visit ContinentalTire.com. Continental Tire for what you do. Yeah, he was referencing a game that I did, I believe, with George McGinnis, the former great ABA player. And George was my color commentator, and we did a game at Butler Fieldhouse. So it's Butler against Wisconsin Green Bay. And Tony hit the game-winning shot, hit a 3. And he was a really good player, drafted by the Hornets. But his father was such a clinical type coach. Like everything, they were practicing pick and rolls. And it's, a veteran team. And I was thinking, oh, my God, this would drive me crazy. But he left nothing to chance. And you were practicing the same things over and over and over. And, he went on to Wisconsin, but a brilliant coach. Great coach. And congrats to Tony. But, it's got to be a fun night where you're watching your son win a national championship. Having a hard time watching your son win a national championship at that.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.